Guys, Jason here, bringing you another deck profile. So last time I did a deck profile, I looked at one of our, I guess you could say, gimmicky decks. We looked at a Fire, Nature, Darkness Survivor build. So today we're going to take a look at the other, I guess, gimmick archetype, so to speak, which comes in the form of Wave Strikers. It's pretty funny with Wave Strikers. We originally thought they were more broken than they actually were, because I know the effect reads, they get their Wave Striker ability when you have two or more other creatures that have Wave Striker. I think when we first saw them, we thought it was when you have two creatures, so basically you needed two to have the effect rather than three. And then we reread the card because we realized that was a bit too broken. But yeah, basically this deck was it wasn't too difficult for us to construct, since we did have a few Wave Strikers lying around, and a couple of years ago I did find an eBay auction which had a bunch of Wave Strikers, so I just finished off a few play sets and threw something together. As far as resource consumption goes, I'm actually really happy with this deck. It doesn't take up too many staples at all, and it's actually proven to be a very, very strong deck. Now, to start things off, we'll look at the light section and the boss monster. So we have Kilstine, Nebula, Elemental. The Wave Striker ability is he or she gives all other creatures in the battle zone plus 5,000, all your creatures in the battle zone 5k power and blocker and double breaker. So it's not just your Wave Strikers that get the ability, it's everything. Now, previously, we were playing quite a few non-Wave Striker creatures, but we just decided to streamline the deck a bit more. So it's really so the fact that he gives everything rather than just Wave Strikers a power boost is less relevant. But yeah, just thought I'd bring that to your attention. So the whole idea with this deck is to just use your Wave Strikers to control the field until you can summon Kilstine, and then after that you can just drop Kilstine and start swinging. You don't even have to attack with it, because, you know, he gives all your other creatures power, so they can kind of just tank it themselves. But yeah, very, very good card. Very good card indeed. We also have, for Merlee the Oracle, I think Merlee is probably the best Wave Striker, to be honest. Very simple effect, 2 mana, 1.5k. Each of your other creatures in the battle zone gets plus 1,000 power. Merlee is our desired turn to play, and yeah, just because, you know, it's a 2 mana Wave Striker, as you'll see, most of them cost 3, and the power boost makes it very difficult to deal with later in the game, especially if you're able to get 2 Merlees on the field. That's very, very difficult for your opponent to deal with. But yeah, very, very good Wave Striker indeed. Another one we're going to look at, last of the light Wave Strikers, is Asra, Vizier of Safety. So this one's Wave Striker ability is it gets 4k power and blocker. So this deck doesn't have any blockers outside of Asra, and I guess when Kilstine's effect comes into play. But Asra can provide useful. It's also just another efficient 3 mana Wave Striker, really. I mean, 3 mana 6k. What else could you really ask for? The last cards we're going to look at in the light section are just 2 Kolon the Oracle and 2 Holy Awe. We didn't have 4 Holy Awes lying around, but I'm not sure that you'd want 4 Holy Awes. Kolon does have its relative merits in being able to apply pressure in a tense situation, like if your opponent breaks it, and then you stop their last attack, and then you can use Kolon for the Domida. I don't know. The split works fine if you went with 4 Kolon. Okay, I guess 4 Kolon wouldn't be that good, but if you went with 4 Holy Awe, I wouldn't really blame you. Or maybe you could even like cut these 2 down and play 3 Holy Awe or something. But yeah, nothing too scientific behind this split. It just seems to work, and given the cards we have, we're happy with it. So that finishes off the light section. Now moving on to nature, we are going to look at 4 Macho Melon. Now I know what you guys are thinking. Man, this guy sucks. His Wave Striker ability is he only gets power attacker, so that means unless he gets boosted by a couple different Merlees, he's still highly susceptible to the typical fire destruction spells. And you're right, I don't think Macho Melon is a very good Wave Striker. However, the reason we play 4 of him here is that the goal of the deck is to give your Wave Strikers their Wave Striker abilities as fast as possible. And, well, the only other 2-mana Wave Strikers we have are Merlee and Uncanny Turnip. But then the thing with Uncanny Turnip is we don't just want to randomly play him because he has a come into play effect and then just see him destroyed further down the track. So I would rather just play Macho Melon to activate Wave Striker abilities, and then Uncanny Turnip can come down a little bit later. And yeah, so now that we have, taken a look at Macho Melon and we have Uncanny Turnip over here, I'm just going to talk about his ability real quick. So his effect is when you play him, put the top card of your deck into your mana zone and then grab a creature from your mana zone and put it into your hand. So there are a lot of, I guess, shall we say, interesting situations that can come from playing an Uncanny Turnip, and it's actually really clutch as well some of the time. So let's here's an in-game scenario on how you can be very clever with the way you manage your mana. So let's say we have Holy Awe, Macho Melon, and I guess Merlee in the mana zone, right? And then let's say we have these guys out. So playing an Uncanny Turnip will result in the effect activating. So let's say we tap these two, we play Uncanny Turnip, and then grab a mana, grab Merlee as part of Uncanny Turnip's effect. We still have 2 mana untapped, and we'll use these to play Merlee. So as you can see here, based on this oversimplified situation, you can really pull off some super cool plays with Uncanny Turnip, and he's just a fun card and one of the few cards in our deck that actually allows us to cycle through cards in our deck. I used to play a few more cycle cards, things like Dimension Gate and things like Magris, but I ultimately decided to exclude them, but I'll get into that a little bit later. Right, so moving on, the last nature Wave Striker we have, as you probably guessed, is just good old Ninja Pumpkin Spider-Man. Look at that. It's like he's doing that web shooter thing. So his effect is, well, he get, like Asra, he gets an additional 4k, and he cannot be blocked by creatures that have power 5k or less, which is effectively saying that he can't be blocked, period, because most of the competitive blockers are power 5k or less. You have Thrash Crawler, Bloody Skeeto, the Water Fishes, and we also have, I guess, some light blockers, but then that's like Sarius, Cenotine Jade Tree, which are in the same boat as the water blockers, so he effectively can't be blocked. He's not our favorite turn 3 Wave Striker, and neither is Asra, and I'm sure you guys can probably see where this conversation is going, but he's got a decent effect, and I think he's a fair addition. The last things in the nature section we're going to look at are just 2 Natural Snare, 6 mana shield trigger, our only means of spot removal. I guess if Kilstine's power boost isn't able to kill something, we can always use Natural Snare. I only had 2 Natural Snares, but I think 2 is sufficient, to be honest. Again, part of what goes into our deck construction is resource utilization. And I don't think Wave Strikers need too many of the staples, because on their own they are strong enough. All right, so moving on to the fire section, I talked about who our favorite turn 3 play is. It is obviously this guy, Sapian Tark Flame Dervish. His effect gets an additional 4k, bumps him up to 6k, and he can attack untapped creatures. So ideally, we want to hit, Merlee on turn 2, Sapian Tark on turn 3, and then some other random Wave Striker on turn 4, and then we just start controlling the board with Sapian Tark. If you have a good start and your opponent doesn't get rid of Merlee, they could be in some very serious trouble. Another Fire Wave Striker we have is Flame Trooper Goliac. So 5 mana, 4k. When you play him, choose one of your opponent's creatures in the battle zone that has power 5k or less and just blow it up. So it's like a Tornado Flame on wheels, slightly better since you can hit Thrash Crawler, I guess. I don't think he's the best Wave Striker of all time, but I think he certainly has his uses, and I think he certainly earned his place in the deck. Last, we also have Eviscerating Warrior Lumez. His effect is when you play him, it's Burst Shot. So if you don't have Merlee and you play him, he's actually going to kill himself. I don't actually find myself using him too often, but I think, well, there isn't really any other wave striker for us to play in place of him, and he has come in handy on occasion. There have been a few moments where we've pulled him out of the mana zone from Uncanny Turnip's effect, and then just played him to bring ourselves back into the game. But eviscerating, eviscerating Warrior Lumez, not too bad. Not the best, but not too bad. We previously had Bonefire Lizard in this list, but he was pretty useless since Flame Trooper got rid of blockers and Ninja Pumpkin can't be blocked anyway. Last of the shield triggers, we just have 3 Tornado Flame and 3 Phantom Dragon's Flame. We use these mainly for their shield trigger effects. The count of 3/3 is just so we have an equal number of each of them. I think 4/2 would be a bit weird of either, and it just gives us a good balance, really. Not that we have a second wave striker deck, but Phantom Dragon's Flame comes in handy when you're playing against other setup decks, like, for example, Survivors or Evolution-based decks. But yeah, we kind of just add these to pad out the shield trigger count, since if our opponent starts breaking us early, we don't really want to be at their mercy for the rest of the game. And that rounds out our Wave Striker list deck. I think it's a very, very fun deck to play. Because there isn't really that much of an engine, you tend to run out of cards quite fast, but the main advantage of this is that you have insane board control thanks to this guy. So yeah, you pretty much just play cards every turn as best you can, and then once you draw into Kilstine, you just drop them down and then start swinging, and then you win. Now, just getting into the reasoning for why I don't really play cycle cards, things like Dimension Gate or Magress, is because I feel like it's probably more important to defend your board state with the wave strikers. You want to make sure that your wave strikers are out and they're keeping their abilities. So I would rather use resources to play wave strikers as opposed to using resources to find the wave strikers, if that makes sense. Now, I did think about playing Mysterious in this deck, but I ultimately decided against it because... Well, I decided against it because there isn't really a way that we can be efficient with it. And what I mean by that is, in my mana acceleration video, I talked about how, you use certain cards to set up certain plays. And we used to play Bronze Arm in this deck, and Bronze Arm would never, be our preference. We would just always end up charging him to play Ninja Pumpkin instead or something. So I feel like Mysterious could have great synergy with this deck because of how cheap these guys are, and you can just keep slapping them down, keep drawing cards. But I don't know. It hasn't worked out that well in testing, because once you just drop them down, your opponent will get rid of him because, they've had a million turns to find something to react to it. But yeah, Wave Strikers, again, a very fun deck. Thanks for sticking with me for this long. This video ended up going for a bit longer than I expected, but if you have any questions or if you play Wave Strikers a different way, please do not hesitate to let me know. I'm always curious to see what you guys are doing. But again, thank you for your time and have a great day. Bye.